So Sarah had always been one that smiled through it, the one that made everyone comfortable, and she tried to be easygoing, kind, agreeable, the good girl, and who didn't want to ruffle feathers, of course. And if this sounds like you in today's video, I'm going into Sarah's story and how she started to shift from shoulds to listening to that intuition and finding herself and living more true to herself. So thank you for joining me. I'm AmyC with You Finding You. I'm an intuitive and transformational coach. And currently in the dialog box below, you'll see that there is a program that you can snag up. It's Trusting Your Inner Compass, and it's helping you step into listening to your intuition, starting to play with those little nudges that you get, and really starting to step inside and connect to that inner knowing, that trusting, that guidance that is coming through you. So again, do check that out. That's in the dialog box below. So without even realizing it, Sarah had spent her life keeping herself small in a little box, keeping constrained, doing the things like people pleasing, doing the good girl things. And these things made her feel accepted, belonging, but also really safe in her life. And she would say yes to things even when her body was like, no, no, this, I need rest. I need these things. I need this time for myself. And yet she would still say yes. And she stayed quiet in meetings or in group things, even when she knew she had these answers, or when she was screaming inside of like, no, this, I want to share this. But she would stay quiet and not share. She would play small so that others wouldn't feel uncomfortable, so that she would keep this nice cohesive feeling among the group and again be accepted and feel like she belonged in the group. And at the end of the day, she would feel drained or heavy, exhausted, and she started to feel like she was disappearing inside. Like there was no real satisfaction in her life. She just was doing enough to live an okay or fine, or live in a way that was like, well, it feels comfortable, but I'm not really fully living. And she was seeking, wanting more to really live more satisfied, really live more in her life. And one evening, she then caught her reflection in the mirror. And when she looked at herself, she saw this dull energy, this presence and posture that was not really a woman that was living full in her vitality. Instead, it was just kind of present and dull. And something stirred in her, not in her mind, but in her chest. And that feeling in her chest said to her, you don't have to live like this. And it wasn't a shout or a demand, it was actually more of an invitation that she could change things. She could start to shift things around and not live this way. And she got curious then, like, how can I shift things? What do I need to do? What needs to change in me? And she started listening then to this voice inside of her, like, what else can I do with this? And the voice wasn't the loud shoulds in her head, but a quiet knowing in her body. And she started to listen to that quiet knowing, like a voice that was saying, you're allowed to rest now. Rather than going out and being with all these people and gatherings, she was like, no, my body's saying I actually want to rest now. And she started to listen to those little nudges and doing the things that her body was saying, yes, please give us rest. And she would choose things as well of what's right for you, what is right for me. And she would ask herself, what feels right for me, rather than what feels right in the group and I just follow along with it. It was starting to ask herself what really felt right in me. And this voice she kept hearing over and over, you are enough, just as you are. This not good enough voice she always had of like, I need to appease these other people to look and feel and be good enough, and people will respect me and accept me, and as I gain their respect, then I'll be good enough. But that voice was never ending. It never stopped, and she always was not feeling good enough. And so this inner voice that was coming up inside of her of like, you are good enough just as you are, she started to wonder, like, yeah, I don't need to compare and prove and look at these things outside of me, because my inner voice, my inner world, I know is right for me. And no one outside of me can tell me what actually is right for me. So that good enough voice was like, oh, let me listen and look within and say to myself, know in myself that I am good enough. And at first, making this shift to start listening within was very unfamiliar and scary. She wasn't looking as much to others for their approvals and their validation, but starting to listen within, she questioned, is this still right? Do I still want validation from others? But each time that she chose to trust that inner voice, it got stronger more and more, and she started to really know this is her truth. This is what is right in her. And she didn't overhaul her life in a day. Of course, it took time, and little bit by little bit, little steps forward in looking within and listening to that voice within. And she stopped performing and keeping herself in the box, and she started just being and listening to that voice inside of her. And she said no from a place of love. And knowing that in saying no to these other people were and was a yes for herself. So she was able to start saying no with kindness, that it's not about them in saying no. It's not about their worth or who they are. It's that I am saying no because this is right for me. And she stopped apologizing for needing space. And the guilt that would come up whenever she had asked for space, she actually stepped back and was able to say, again, this is for me. I need this time and space. And as I build up my reserves, as I build up and have more energy in myself, more being in myself, I can give more to others. So it's okay for me to step back and have space and need space for myself to then be able to give with love and being more present with others. And she started and began to step into her whole self, and not that watered down version anymore, not that dull version that she was, the one that was keeping herself constrained, but actually showing up more and speaking up more, because she knew this truth in her, this knowing in her was what was right in her. And again, not needing the approval of others to meet that worth and validation in her, she was getting it from inside. And in that unfolding, in that breaking out, stepping out of the constraints, things started to shift. She didn't feel lost anymore. She actually felt found. And she didn't feel the emptiness inside, but actually really felt full, full of life and being more satisfied, more joy in life, more of herself and more vitality in herself. And she finally realized in all of this, she saw the shift and began to realize that her worth was never something that she had to earn. Her worth is her and how she sees it and defines it in her. She didn't have to earn it or look outside of herself to get the approval and acceptance and gain her worth. It actually was something that she just inherently is. And as she listened to that intuition and that inner knowing, those voices, that truth is who she is. That is her worth. And it's always been there, and it's just been waiting for her to remember and reconnect and listen, really be with it. So I'm curious if you resonate with Sarah, if you feel similar aspects in your own life, do put in the comments below. And then start to see how can you start to listen. Listen to that inner knowing, that voice inside of you that is giving you your worth, your truth, your being, who you are. So thank you guys for joining me today. If you are enjoying and getting value out of these videos, do hit that like, share, and subscribe. Thank you again. I'll see you in the next video.